Hey, I'm Jason Alan Corvell. I'm up here in the Bronx. Hello from the BX, and I am rocking with Randy for Houston Style Magazine.
Hey, Team Style Mag, totally Randy here. I'm so super excited to be talking to Jason. Thank you so much, Mr. Carvell. Am I saying it correctly, Carvell?
You are saying it correctly, but you don't have to say that. Come on,
I
Randy.
love it. I love
I know
it.
it's a nice name, though, right? It's nothing to do with the ice cream, though. That's the problem.
Right. And look at you, so full of personality. I absolutely love it. Let's talk a little bit. So coming in third season, for such a historical character. First of all, it's Malcolm X. Come on.
Yeah.
Just take us a little bit through your thought process playing this character.
Well, I can tell you, it's funny. It's almost like this is going to sound crazy, but when you audition for a role like this, when I do, there's a tiny part of me that's like, I kind of hope I don't get it because it's so big. You know what I mean? Like it's just you go into it, you have that energy, and then a little tiny piece of me is like, oh, but then I'm gonna have to do it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I got it, and I was thinking about it, and I talked to my mother. I talked to a lot of people who were around at the time when he was alive, when he was working, and everybody just said, "You already got it. You already got it," because Malcolm is such a presence that he's
Right.
already inside of everybody. He's all that important part of him has influenced the way that we all came up. You know what I mean? The way that the next generation came up. And so we already have echoes of the voice, and we have, it's in the water that we drink, and so everybody already has a little bit of it. So you don't have to worry about it. Just fill that cup up a little bit more, do your study, do your work, speak to people who were alive at the time, who were in New York at the time, and really get a sense of how they saw him, and then read and watch. So that was that.
I love that. I love that. And I love that you did your research because I was going to ask you that. That's a great segue to the next question. I was going to ask you, when I think about Malcolm X, Denzel Washington embodied him.
Yeah, yeah,
A
yeah.
lot of people, they the juxtaposition between the looks, but Denzel embodied him for the movie, that Spike Lee did. But
Yeah.
I want to know, like, out of all the people that you've seen they play Malcolm X, out of you growing up, learning about him, doing your research for the role as well, can you name me one or maybe three unique things that you personally, Jason, brought to the character?
Oh Lord. Wow. Oh, I hadn't thought about that. I mean, I feel like I know, right? I'm like, yeah, I feel like the only thing that I can say, and it's probably only going to be one, um, is that I had ginger hair when I was a kid. No, I'm playing. That is true though.
I love it.
Finally, it went too, and I was like, oh, thank God for that. I'm looking crazy out here. But the thing that I wanted to focus on, let's put it this way. You tell me if it was successful, but the thing that I really wanted to focus on was, what is Malcolm like when nobody's watching? What is Malcolm? How does he breathe? What does he look at? How does he, pull the covers back before he lies down to go to sleep? You know what I mean? What's the way that he makes his tea? Because one of the powers of television and film is that you can catch those moments, and they live, and you don't have to be being Malcolm X. You don't have to be being somebody, famous and somebody so
Right.
prominent, because everybody does the same things, And so I thought to myself, all right, I'm an actor, every actor likes to think they got whatever it is, but I'm not Denzel, you know what I mean? I understand that, you got to be yourself. So I thought, what he brought to it was, he went into it and just breathed life. And I watched it. I'm gonna tell you a quick aside. I was coming back from London after I got this booking, and on the plane, obviously, what movie did I put on? I put on Malcolm X, and I was watching it. By the time I landed in New York, I went, I might have to call somebody and just be like, can you see if Denzel's still available? Like, because I don't know, But then there's also that thing where you look at it, you go, if it's possible to capture something like that, then it's my work to try to capture it. You know what I mean?
I
I
love
try
that.
to work on something else to find. So it's those, just to bring it back, because, you know, I go on. It's the quiet moments. So it's those little things. It's the way that he looks at Betty, the way he holds Betty, the way that, you know, he takes his glasses on and off, you know, to clean them. And I tell you, one more quick thing. I'm sorry, I know you got the questions, but one more quick thing. There's
No, I love it.
there is, and he did an interview with Mike Wallace. It's one of the most amazing things you'll ever see. Um, there's a moment where something goes wrong technically. The phone is ringing, something like that. And so they're not in the midst of the interview. And Malcolm takes off his glasses to clean them. And and the thing that I noticed, and I looked it up, he keeps his eyes closed when he takes his glasses off. And I was wondering about that. And I asked my mother about it, you know, and some other people. And she said, well, it's easy. It's because the adjustment, you know, going too blurry, it gives you a headache. So you keep your eyes closed when you take it if it's a strong prescription. And so that's one of the things. And I thought, oh, that's a little detail, you know what I mean? And so I kept that. Didn't take my glasses off that much on the show, but you know what I mean? It's those little tiny things that just tell you about the humanity of somebody else. And then everything else takes care of itself.
Seeing how you wanted to pay attention to detail, and we can see that. We can see you paying attention to detail when it came to Malcolm. You know, how did you go about gleaning from him and Bumpy's relationship so that you can still thread that detail throughout the series?
It's such a good question, because I tried to find out as much information as I could about their relationship. And there's a lot. But it's not a huge amount where you can like build the full fabric of it, because a lot of it is, you know, it lives, I won't say it lives in the streets, but it lives in the air. It lives in history without being written down. But I will tell you this, that the gift of working with Forest is that anything you think you need to do, you don't. You know what I mean? It was like, you know, I loved his work, obviously, you know, for a long time. And I sat down on that first day to work with him, and I thought, oh, I had these ideas in my head. You know, you go to work, you know, oh, I want to do this, I want to try that. It goes out the window, because you look at Forest and it's a universe that's right there, and you don't need anything. You sit down, as long as the preparation's been done, you sit down and look at the man, and he's so open, and he's so giving, and he's so real. You don't have to do it. What am I going to try to put on top of that?
Right.
It's not possible. You know what I mean? So I might have all these things, or I might want to cross my leg like this. I might want to do that. Why? You just sit and be real. You know what I mean? And that's where the relationship comes from. So it made every moment so easy.
Now I could go into intricate details throughout the season, but I don't want to give any spoilers for our audience out there that's still watching.
Yeah.
So, but I do want to ask you, you know, NCIS, there's actually not a lot I know about you, Jason. So introduce yourself to me as if I am your first fan.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, you know, we got 10 minutes. I'm going to tell you, I've lived about 10 lives. I realize this is crazy. I love that you asked this question, because if I think back, when I first became an actor, I came up in a Black theater called Country Repertory Theater. And Dr. Vernell Lilly, who, God rest her, she passed away a couple of years ago, but every single time I get on stage, or every single time I get in front of camera, I think about her, because she was the one who told me, you know, you act when it's joyful. Well, you can act when it's hard, as long as you know it's joyful in the end. But if you don't want to act, don't act. Do something else. You know what I mean? Climb a tree. You know, get on a plane, go somewhere else. Do what you need to do. Go swimming in the river, whatever you need to do. And so I have, over the years, I've always acted. You know, I've done 100 plays and, you know, a bunch of TV shows and stuff. But that's the joy. You know, it's when it's joyful. You know, if I have some friends and I say, let's get together, do a little play uptown or whatever, I'm in New York, and, you know, and do a little something, you know, I mean, we just do, it doesn't matter if anybody comes. You know what I mean? So I was never that type of actor who was always trying to, you know, slam my foot through the door and all that kind of stuff. And I appreciate that people do that as a business. I understand that and hustle and all that. But for me, you know, if it's joyful, I'm gonna jump into it. And if
Right.
I'm not 100% sure about it, you know, I might take a chance on it. But also, it's just as much joy for me. I've got two little girls, you know what I mean? And, you know, I have as much joy playing with them, you know, learning with them, teaching
So
them as
you're
I
a
do
girl dad.
everything else. What happened?
You're a girl dad.
Two, yeah, yeah. One is 5 and one is 2. And
Oh, nice.
when they were girls, I was like, thank you. Because I'm a boy, I got a brother. You know what I mean? I said, woo, I
Well,
know
I
it's
have
hard
a 4-year-old
sometimes, but
son, so you know,
yeah,
I get it. I'm a
yeah.
boy mom. It's different on this side.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, everybody's beautiful, but at the same time, you know what I mean? I was very pleased. And I feel like so yeah, I've done a lot of theater work, a lot of theater work. Worked over here in New York for a long time. Um, worked in London for a long time,
Right.
worked across the country, did some tours. You know, and I came out of a theater training program as well. So that was my thing. Um, and then, you know, I've done, you know, you've heard my voice, you know, I've done probably about 400 voiceovers, a
That's
lot of
amazing.
narration. Yeah, I did Africa's Deadliest Predators on National Geographic. I did
Hmm.
Wild China.
Hmm.
Did, you know, a lot of series, you know, for National Geographic, the BBC. Yeah, so I spent a lot of time doing that. I'm also a sculptor and I make bags as well. So, you know, I try to fill my time with some joy. And yeah, so,
I
you
like
know, but
getting to
acting is a
that
big
part of
part of
you.
it.
You know, a lot of people ask, like, what's your favorite food? What's your favorite city? Where's your favorite country you like to travel? But I want to get down to the nitty gritty. I want to get to what your personal therapy is. Like,
Yeah,
sculpting sounds like something that is your personal therapy. Like,
yeah,
you know?
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's something that, you know, it's funny because we think of time in two ways. Time can expand us, give us opportunities to try new things. Oh, I got the whole day. I can do this, I can do that. But it also sometimes can contract us and make us feel like we're being sucked into something that isn't positive, you know. But one of the things about the arts, especially the visual arts, is you could spend a day, two
Right,
days, 3 days making something. And it's almost like time itself becomes your companion with that,
right.
you know. And when I was a kid, my dad would always, he had a little workshop downstairs and he would whittle wood and he'd make our like Christmas presents. He'd always make them out of wood, little train sets and stuff like that. And now that the memory of that, I realized that he was being the master of time, that time wasn't going to suck him into it, you know.
Mm.
And so that's why I still do it. You know, I still work with our older girl, Hattie, who's 5. You know, started working a little leather stuff with her, and you know, she's getting interested in it. So trying to pass that on as well.
I love that. Well, you know, my time with you is coming to an end. When you're out in
No,
Houston, listen, when you're out in
Randy.
Houston, make sure you tap in with Totally Randy, okay?
Yeah,
We want to show you around a different part of Houston. I want to take you
yeah,
to some really cool art exhibits and things that we have here too. So please tap in when you're in. And before
absolutely.
we leave,
Yeah.
before we get out of here, let us know, let Houston Style know what do you have coming up next and where can we all follow you?
Wow. So I have all the things, not all of them, but I got Twitter and Instagram. You know, I don't do anything on them. But I promise I'll start. I've been promising people all day. I will start. I promise. I promise. I got 8 pictures on Instagram. I'm coming up. And I did a little thing after we finished Godfather. I did Dr. Death. So that's coming out in a little while. I'm not sure when. Completely different look though. I mean, because Malcolm is together, my man on the show is not. And I got a couple of plays coming up that I'm going to put on the website.
Nice.
Yeah, one play coming over from London, and then I'll be working up in Harlem on something coming up in the spring. So
I
yeah,
really appreciate you for sitting down and rocking with Randy. Please continue to do great things. Love your portrayal of Malcolm X and the
oh,
power
thank
that
you,
you
man. I
brought to that
appreciate that.
character.